Hi, greetings to Professor Anara Jayasumana and to all my fellow students. My name is Manoj Krishna Bangalore. I am currently pursuing my Masters in Computer Science at Colorado State University. As part of ECE 658 Internet Engineering course, I would be presenting a session on Named Data Networking, also called as NDN, which is a great project that is evolving and it aims to develop a new architecture that can capitalize on strengths and also address the weakness of the current internet architecture. I am also very glad to say that CSU is a major contributor to this project through Christos Padopoulos and Dan Massey. Let's go deep into this project. Um, Looking at the history and motivation behind the invention of network, it is evident that networks was invented to share the resources, not the data. In late 1960s and early 1970s, a variety of communication protocols were developed for this purpose. And that's the real motivative behind the creation of network where they always thought to share the resources, not the data. As I mentioned, the first applications that were built strictly focused on host-to-host inter-process communications, which include remote login, file transfer, sharing resources like printers, etc. Unfortunately, Internet was built on top of this host-to-host model, and applications which involve communication between pairs of stationary hosts were well suited for this kind of architecture, but today's internet is no more suitable for this architecture as the central abstraction is a host identifier. Today, if you look at the data communications that happen within the internet, it is all about moving the content. And there is a lot of content as of December 2008. The internet was moving around 8 exabytes per month. And this is due to a huge number of content that was created in 2006, according to the report of IDC, and they're expecting huge growth in future as well. And if you look at the current status, it is almost 80% of annual growth, and we were actually moving thousands of gigabytes of data in today's internet. Having seen at the history and motivation behind the invention of networks, it's high time for a transformational architectural change, which was the major goal behind the invention of this research project. In addition to NDN, there were multiple projects which share a common idea like content-centric networking, information-centric networking, and data-oriented architecture. The key architectural shift in NDN is focusing on what information is needed rather than where the information is located. And in order to achieve this, NDN uses names to identify every piece of content instead of IP address of a machine that was attached to the IP network. And now let's go deep and look how this is achieved by replacing the IP addresses with names in order to identify every piece of content. One of the major goal of NDN is to create a simple, universal, flexible communication architecture that matches today's communication problems and design patterns. And in addition to these, it also has to be more secured, and it should involve less configuration. Communication in NDN is driven by receivers, that is the data consumers, through the exchange of two types of packets. Number one, interest packet, and number two, data packet. A consumer puts the name of a desired piece of data into an interest packet and sends it to the network. Routers use this name to forward the interest towards the data producers. Once the interest reaches a node that has the requested data, the node will return a data packet that contains both the name and the content together with its signature by the producer's key, which binds the two. This data packet follows in reverse the path taken by the interest to get back to the requesting consumer. As you can see in the picture, um, the content name is shared by both the interest packets and the data packets, and additionally the data packet uh, adds a signature field to have an additional security, and at the end both of these packets are encoded in an efficient binary XML during the communication. Endian design assumes hierarchically structured names. Example, a, a PDF produced by park.com may have the name park.com slash van slash presentation.pdf, where the backslash delineates name components in text representation similar to URLs. In this example, uh, consider a, a consumer puts the request to get the presentation.pdf as get park.com slash van slash presentation.pdf. So here the name, the content name is park.com slash van.presentation.pdf. So any node that hears the request and has a valid copy of the data can respond via a data packet. So once any kind of receiver receives the interest packet, they validate the content name and then sends the response back through data packets. The returned data is signed and secured in order to protect the integrity and association with the name, so that it can be validated by the consumer. At the end, it gets the reply back saying that here is park.com van slash presentation.pdf slash p1 in an encoded XML format. Now, let us look at an example where we have multiple clients, client 1, client 2, client 3, and there are multiple intermediate routers like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and we have one destination host which is called NY times that serves the data. And initially, consider an example where client 1 sends a request for the data packet present in NY times. So it sends an interest packet to H, and H validates the content name and looks if it is capable to serve the data. And if it is not capable enough, it forwards the data packet, the interest packet to D, which will internally search once again if it is capable enough. And if it is not capable enough to serve the data, it forwards back to B, and then it goes to A, and at the end it reaches the end host identifier. Now the data producer sends the data back to client 1 via the data packet, and it follows the same path through which it received the request. So it again follows the path A, B, D, H, and at the end it reaches the client 1 which has requested the interest packet. Here, one of the major difference would be uh, there is an additional capability given to the intermediate routers, like here the example of A, B, D, H, where they have a capacity to store the data, and once the data packet has been received from NY times, A will store the data and in its content store, and then sends the data back to B, and the data will be stored again in B as well, and then at D and H. So now what happened is, after the initial request has been served, all the intermediate nodes like A, B, D, and H has stored the content within their content store, and now they are capable enough to serve the data for the additional subsequent requests. At this junction, assume that client 2 has requested the same data packet like client 1 for the NY times, and initially this request would be sent to the intermediate node I via the interest packet, and I validates the content name present in the interest packet and searches if it is capable enough to serve the data. If it is not capable enough, it forwards the data back to D. And now, since D is capable enough to serve the data, rather than forwarding the packet to NY times, it serves the data by itself and then sends the data via the data packet back to I. And now the node I will store the same data in its content store and then serves the data back to client 2. So what happened here is the intermediate nodes has gained an additional capacity to store the data of the previous requests, and rather than sending any kind of request to the end data producer, there has been additional power given to the intermediate routers where they can serve the data via the data packets. One of the major advantage of following this sort of architecture would be that the content goes only where there is an interest, and there will be a significant decrease in the total bandwidth utilization, and also there won't be any extra routing or control traffic associated with this sort of replicas. The main building blocks of the NDN architecture are named content chunks, in contrast to the IP architecture's fundamental unit of communication, which is an end-to-end channel between two endpoints identified by IP address. NDN changes the semantics of network service from delivering the packet to a given destination address to fetching data identified by a given name. So it replaces packets with data objects and also replaces the addresses with name of the objects. To carry out the interest and data packet forwarding functions, each NDN router maintains three data structures: a pending interest table, also called PIT, a forwarding information base, also called FIB, and a content store, CS. The PIT stores all the interests that a router has forwarded but not satisfied yet. Each PIT entry records the data name carried in the internet together with its incoming and outgoing interfaces. When an interest packet arrives, an Indian router first checks the content store for matching data. If it exists, the router returns the data packet on the interface from which the interest came. Else, the router looks up the name in its PID, and if a matching entry exists, it simply records the incoming interface of this interest in the PID entry. On the other hand, in the absence of a matching PID entry, the router will forward the interest towards the data producer based on the information in the FIB as well as the forwarding strategy. When a router receives interests from the same name from multiple downstream nodes, it forwards only the first one upstream towards the data producers, thus eliminating the redundancy of the requests, which will reduce the bandwidth utilization as well. The FIB itself is populated by a name prefix based routing protocol and can have multiple output prefixes for each interfaces for each prefix. The forwarding strategy may decide to drop an interest in certain situations. Example, if all upstream links are congested or in the interest is suspected to be part of a denial distributed attack. The content store is a temporary cache of data packets the router has received. Because an NDN data packet is meaningful independent of where it comes from or where it is forwarded, it can be cached to satisfy future interests. When a data packet arrives, the NDN router finds the matching PIT entry and forwards the data to all downstream interfaces listed in that PIT entry. It then removes that PIT entry and caches the data in the content store. Data packets always take the reverse path of interests, and in the absence of packet losses, one interest packet results in one data packet on each link, providing a flow balance. Looking at an example for this forwarding strategy, consider a user 1 has requested an interest packet for A. It initially checks if the content store is capable enough to serve the data, and in the absence of the data in the content store, it looks into the PIT table and then mm, it notes a record in the PIT with the incoming interface from the user one, and then based upon the data within the FIB, it forwards the interest packet towards the data producer. So once the data producer sends the data back to the PIT using the data packets, the PIT would just remove the entry from its table and then saves the content on the content store and then serves the data back to the user one. Now, in case if when the user 2 has requested for B and this corresponding node is capable enough to serve the data, it rather than forwarding the data to the data producer, it by itself sends the data back to the user 2 based upon the data present in its content store. This way, An additional data storage capability has been present at each intermediate NDN node, and this will reduce the network bandwidth utilization a lot. Now, looking at the functionalities at each NDN router, there are additional functionalities provided in this sort of architecture where it works to verify a data, and it also maintains more state in its routing entries. And since it has to save names instead of IP addresses, more complex entries would be present in its both PAT and FIB, and then additional storage devices would also be present at each router, serving as a content store. And due to this, there will be an increased additional cost for each NDN router. This diagram explains the current data flow in a TCP. So it is an end host to end host communication where each client sends a request for the data, and the intermediate nodes just forward the request to the end host identifier. And since the host gets requests from multiple clients and there is no capability for the routers to serve the data, the data would be forwarded to the end host, and there would be a huge mess and traffic, thereby increasing the data bandwidth utilization at the end host identifier. So we would like to change this sort of architecture, and this architecture would be a lot of clumsy when huge data is involved during the data transfer. This diagram here explains the data flow in named defined networking. Sorry, data networking. This diagram explains the data flow in named data networking (NDN). So here, as you can see, it is an end host to content communication. So the location is independent and it is content oriented networking. Since the intermediate nodes has an additional capacity to serve the data, so rather than sending every request to the end host identifier, these intermediate nodes can act as the serving agent in cases where they have capability to serve the data. This is a sample NDN test bed that has been deployed and it is currently under testing. As you can see in the picture, CSU is also one of the node among the 22 nodes, and it also has multiple links to other nodes. And these are the universities that were actually contributing towards the development of this research project. Now, looking at some applications and implementation of NDN, we can clearly see that there are no TCP and UDP involved in this sort of architecture, and so there is no necessity for ports because we no more use the IP addresses, but rather communicate using the content name. So applications should have their own network stack. And the interesting thing here is NDN can work on top of an IP overlay, and IP can work on top of an NDN overlay. So this is like they can work hybrid on transition phase, just like how IP protocol started to work on top of the telephone network. Now, looking at some of the advantages of NDN, one of the major advantage would be there is no necessity for a domain name service that helps in the IP conversion because we don't use IP addresses anymore, and that's the reason it wipes unnecessary network stacks. Then, thinking in terms of connection based, multiple interfaces can work together for a single request. So there is multicasting involved, and you can efficiently use the bandwidth usage. Also, since there are less configurations involved, the administration would be very easy, and we can easily identify the distributed denial of service and can eliminate those attacks by maintaining the records at PIT and sending only one request to the data producer, thereby reducing the load on the data producer. And also in this kind of routing there is no spanning trees involved, because of the forwarding strategy being followed in NDN is entirely different from that of the IP. Finally, in conclusion, named data networking uses named content as its central abstraction rather than the host identifiers, which was the initial motivation behind the invention of the networks. It retains the simplicity and scalability of the IP and offers definitely a better security and delivery efficiency by using some additional securities tokens. It is designed to replace IP, but it can be incrementally deployed as an overlay. Um, these are the different references I used during the research of this demo. Kindly refer to these references if you have any additional doubts. Thank you.